دبي موئل الثقافات وحاضنة الإبداع، تحتضن بين أركانها مزيجا فريدا من الثقافات والتقاليد، حيث يلتقي التراث العريق مع الفكر الحديث. على مر العصور كانت دبي مركزا للحوار الحضاري وبيئة مثالية لتلاقي العقول والأفكار من مختلف أرجاء العالم، ساعية دوما لتعزيز ثقافة المعرفة والانفتاح. وهنا اليوم في قلب دبي حيث يبنى المستقبل، في هذا الصرح الثقافي مكتبة محمد بن راشد تلتقي نخبة من العقول من جميع أنحاء العالم في حدث يجمع بين أمجاد الماضي وتحديات الحاضر ورؤى المستقبل. أهلا بكم في أول نسخة من مؤتمر دبي الدولي للمكتبات، حيث تبدأ رحلة جديدة لإعادة تعريف دور المكتبات في العالم. أكثر من 60 خبيراً من 25 دولة يجتمعون ليطرحوا رؤى جديدة ستعيد تشكيل مفهوم المكتبات. استعدوا لاستكشاف التحول الرقمي في المكتبات عبر الذكاء الاصطناعي واكتشاف الكنوز الأيقونية والمجموعات النادرة. من خلال أكثر من 60 جلسة نلقي الضوء على مستقبل المكتبات وأهمية التراث والمعرفة للأجيال القادمة. إنه الحدث الذي سيخلد في تاريخ المكتبات، مؤتمر دبي الدولي للمكتبات 2024، حيث يجتمع الماضي والحاضر والمستقبل. دبي موئل الثقافات وحاضنة الإبداع، تحتضن بين أركانها مزيجا فريدا من الثقافات والتقاليد، حيث يلتقي التراث العريق مع الفكر الحديث. على مر العصور كانت دبي مركزا للحوار الحضاري وبيئة مثالية لتلاقي العقول والأفكار من مختلف أرجاء العالم، ساعية دوما لتعزيز ثقافة المعرفة والانفتاح. وهنا اليوم في قلب دبي حيث يبنى المستقبل، في هذا الصرح الثقافي مكتبة محمد بن راشد تلتقي نخبة من العقول من جميع أنحاء العالم في حدث يجمع بين أمجاد الماضي وتحديات الحاضر ورؤى المستقبل. أهلا بكم في أول نسخة من مؤتمر دبي الدولي للمكتبات، حيث تبدأ رحلة جديدة لإعادة تعريف دور المكتبات في العالم. أكثر من 60 خبيراً من 25 دولة يجتمعون ليطرحوا رؤى جديدة ستعيد تشكيل مفهوم المكتبات. استعدوا لاستكشاف التحول الرقمي في المكتبات عبر الذكاء الاصطناعي واكتشاف الكنوز الأيقونية والمجموعات النادرة. من خلال أكثر من 60 جلسة نلقي الضوء على مستقبل المكتبات وأهمية التراث والمعرفة.
أسعد الله صباحكم بكل خير وحياكم في فعاليات اليوم الثالث والأخير من مؤتمر دبي الدولي للمكتبات. شكرا لتواجدكم معنا اليوم وعلى مر الأيام الماضية كذلك. Good morning everyone. Welcome to the third and the final day of the Dubai Libraries Conference. I hope you have all had an inspiring couple of days. Now we're going to start our first session for today, the impact of going digital on leadership, with the speaker Masoud Khukhar. Please welcome him to the stage.
Right. Good morning, everyone. Firstly, thank you so much for giving me your time this morning. It's really, really appreciated. And thank you once again to Mohammed bin Rashid Library for inviting us here and for hosting this wonderful conference. I am now short on time, so I'm going to quickly go through some of the slides, but what I want to do is leave at least 5 to 10 minutes at the end for some question and answers as well. So I hope that you engage in that as well. Right, so let me just start by giving you a little bit of background to what University of Leeds is. So we are a large university within the UK context. We've got about 40,000 students, 10,000 staff members. We are a world top 100 institution and a Russell Group University, a founding Russell Group University, which is one of the most kind of research-intensive universities in the UK. We've got a beautiful campus, so if you've never been to Leeds, please do come along. It would be lovely to host you. And a little bit about libraries. So we have 5 library sites. 4 of them are on campus. We have 2 public access galleries. We've got an amazing public access art trail, as well as the Brotherton Research Center. This is a picture of our lovely Brotherton Library, which is 1930s Art Deco library. And it's taken during the pandemic. So you can see that there is no student sitting in the library during this time. We've got about 300 staff members across all of our libraries, and we launched our vision back in 2021 called Knowledge for All. And I think one of the key things I often mention in that vision is its title. We really believe that knowledge should be there for everyone to benefit from. So we've titled our vision for that very reason as well. Okay, so one of the most important questions is, have libraries lost the digital battle? We've been in this world for a long time. We've moved to electronic resources. We've also looked at Google coming in and digitizing all the books and then not giving us access to those books. We've seen a lot of this. The question is, have we lost the digital battle? The short answer is no, but there's a slightly longer answer. And the long answer is that digital remains an important channel. It is a channel. It's not the core mission. And our core mission is still about access to knowledge and preservation of knowledge. I think these microphones might be conflicting, so, don't know. Anyway, I'll keep going. So most important thing that I always say is our fundamental core mission of knowledge access and knowledge preservation remains the same. But what we have not done as effectively is used and gained capability and confidence in using digital as a channel for that. Okay, so what are these challenges? And as some of you who might be in the session yesterday, I said I love cats. I also love dogs, so I'm going to use some of those pictures. So we have a comfort problem. Then we have a confidence problem. We also have a control problem, and we have a capability problem. So let me elaborate a little bit on all of these. So comfort problem, and that's not just a library problem, that's a human problem. When we feel very comfortable with something, we resist change. So we've been very used to a particular way of working. We've been very used to particularly working with traditional content, traditional materials, acquisitions of traditional materials, preservation, conservation of traditional materials. And when it comes to a very different channel, we're like, oh, well, maybe not. It will come and go. The hype will come and go, but actually we've seen that we've not moved at pace with the digital channel in the same way. So we like humans of any profession, have a comfort issue. Then we have a confidence issue, which is now we are struggling to catch up. We are also struggling in our own confidence. We are feeling that we can't do this because only the big tech companies can do all of this digital stuff. So we have this lack of confidence where we say, actually, can someone else come and help us? Because we may not have the capability, or we may not have simply the confidence to do it ourselves. And therefore, it's really important for us to be reminded of that confidence is an important element in all of this. Then we have a control element as well, or control problem. And that goes either way. Sometimes we have too much control, so we want to own everything. We want to say, we don't want Google to do this. We don't want Microsoft to do this. We don't want anyone else to do this. We want to do it ourselves. But often we do that with things that require a lot of effort. On the other side, sometimes we can say, actually, we have no control, and therefore we shouldn't even try doing anything because all the big companies are the only companies that can do this. So there's a fine balance in the middle of what that control would look like in a digital world. And then last but not least, capability. I would be the first to say, I don't feel very capable in all of the digital tools and technologies, but I will have a go at them. It's only because I've got this mindset that what's the worst that can happen? If I try ChatGPT, what's the worst that can happen? Okay, now I've tried ChatGPT, I'm just going to go and try Gemini and see what's the worst that can happen. It's that mindset of experimentation, playing, not fearing. And that's what helps build capability. And we've not yet got that enough in our organizations in full. Okay, so with that problem domain, let's talk about what are the consequences of some of these problems. So we have the very first consequence of scaling. So we might be able to do this little by little. So I might be able to go and say, okay, I've now done this. I've done this little experiment in ChatGPT, or I've done this particular thing in XR or AR. How do you scale it? How do you scale it across your own library? Then how do you scale it across a whole country or a whole sector? And then how do you scale it internationally? The successful places who does this well have big platforms and ecosystems. Amazon used to be a bookseller. Does anyone remember that time? What's the Amazon's most profitable business now? Does anyone want to guess? It's AWS, it's Amazon Web Services. Books are a very, very tiny part of what they do now. Amazon also wanted to come into medicine. The US government stopped them because they're like, it will be too much monopolies. But Amazon is no longer a single company, it's a platform. The same with Google, the same with Meta. I think they're platform-based economies. So we really need to think about what does it mean when we want to scale. The second question or second consequence is we are focusing too much on collecting and not on what we do with those collections. A really good example of this is my own library. Over the last 100+ years, we've collected millions of items. And if I talk about purely rare books, manuscripts, etc., we've got hundreds of thousands of them. We've only digitized 4.5% of them. That's the maximum digitization we've done. And even worse, only about 1 to 2% of them are accessible and discoverable and usable. So firstly, that scale problem comes, but also our focus is still about acquisition and not what we've already acquired and what we do effectively with that. So I think there's a whole problem of use and reuse that's really, really critical. We also try to do what we do with physical channel into digital. Again, goes to the comfort point. Because we are comfortable with physical approaches, we say, oh, how do that approach translate into digital? Every channel gives an opportunity to rethink processes differently. And some of us have done that successfully. Not all of us have done that successfully. We also struggle to develop a growth mindset. And this is with my academic organization hat on. I always say universities, libraries are learning organizations. So the first and foremost responsibility on us as staff members is that we should always be learning ourselves. We cannot say we know everything, because if we know everything, we cannot tell others that they need to learn. We also need to learn. And that's that growth mindset that we need to have all the time. And lastly, but this is very, very important when you come in leadership. I was having this conversation earlier with one of my colleagues. My job is actually nothing to do with libraries anymore. It is all about positioning of the library, the political positioning of the library, the strategic positioning of the library, why libraries matter, why they're important, what difference can we make. And that is a really important thing. So if you are an aspiring leader who's looking at coming into the world of libraries with that kind of leadership hat on, a lot of it is about politically and strategically positioning yourself, either within your organization, within your country, within your government areas, within your sectors, etc. That is a really important skill to have. Okay, so we've talked about the problem and we've talked about the consequences, but let's try to go into solutions domain. So there are potentially 4 different approaches we can take here to develop some solutions. So, and this is only my view, and I would love to hear your view on this as well. The first one is, again, repositioning of libraries. So I said big companies are very good because they are platform companies. They don't talk about a single industry. They don't talk about a single mission. The libraries could be the knowledge platform. It could be the global knowledge platform. We are trusted. People know that we have authenticated knowledge. If we work together across the board, we can develop ourselves into a unique, trusted knowledge platform. And I think we should think that seriously. We have an amazing opportunity to reposition ourselves as a digital leader across our organizations. So in higher education or in academic institutions, libraries are the only places where you talk about research, where you talk about teaching, where you talk about civic mission, where you talk about community engagement. There is no other unit in the whole university who does that. And I know that public libraries have that, school libraries have that. You're also teaching, you're also looking at other elements of how you engage young children, communities. We can really, really harness that cross-cutting function of ours. And AI at the moment is a great opportunity because AI cuts across everything as well. AI will have impact on teaching. AI will have impact on research. AI will have impact on society. So why can't we position libraries as the main hub of digital transformation using AI as an opportunity? So that's another area. The other thing that we are very good at in that is we are not technology companies. So we actually do care about ethics. We do care about what it means for society. We do want to see the right level of regulation, balancing it with innovation. So I think that's another skill that we have. Okay. We really should develop more adaptability approaches. So can't remember who the philosopher was who said the only constant in this world is change. I think that is absolutely true. So how do we develop ourselves as an adaptable organization? And I'll give you one example. A lot of us have very specific job titles, and a lot of us develop our identity with a team. And we say, okay, we will work in a team. What about flexible teams? What about you can work in one team one day and another team in another day? And I'll come to that when we do talk a little bit about the plan. And I'm just going to push through because I do want some question and answers. And I think the other last thing I would say is be a bit bold. Again, goes back to that confidence. We can build that confidence and we can reduce the risk of being bold by collaborating with each other. Okay, let me move forward. Right, so I'm now going to give you some practical examples of how we are trying to do this at the University of Leeds so that it becomes more tangible and real. So the very first thing that we are doing is we are changing the library role in knowledge. We are basically establishing ourselves as a knowledge platform within the university. So the first thing we are doing in there is we are developing our very first Leeds Libraries Institute of Knowledge Futures. So that institute will basically talk about all the challenges of knowledge now, but also the challenges that will come in the future. We'll do some original teaching around that. We'll do some original research around that. And that would be librarians who will be doing that in conjunction with the faculty. Secondly, we're going to host a major international symposium on knowledge futures next year, probably around April, May time. And we really want to bring the world together to say, okay, what are these challenges and how do we solve them globally? Because knowledge is a global challenge. Thirdly, we are co-founders of a network called Knowledge Equity Network. There's a link around there. It's a global network. If you've not seen it, please do have a look. You can sign up as an individual. You can also sign up as an organization. There's a declaration, but what it's trying to do is trying to bring three different concepts together. We need to build more open research. We need to build more open education, and we need to do it on open infrastructures. That's the core premise of that declaration. And also, we are leaders in the university in user experience approaches. And one of the key areas we are focusing on is how do people discover knowledge? Do they use Google all the time? Do they even come to our website? So let's change the fundamentals of how knowledge is being discovered as well. So that's one area of our focus on the knowledge element. Then let's go back to ambition, that being bold. So when we launched our strategy, by the way, in 2021, so ChatGPT has not come. The big hoo-ha around AI has not come. And again, I'm only showing you three strategic priorities. There are lots and lots of others. We've already put these forward at that time. So our strategic priority 2 was we will be using behavior mapping, data analytics, machine learning. We were very straightforward about that. We will be doing a lot of work on the intersection of collections and digital in that concept. So we'll be building digital humanities hubs. But we were also very clear that we'll be talking about digital and information poverty because that is a big problem. That we'll be talking about digital inequalities, that we'll be talking about ethics at the same time. So we are positioning the role of the library as the balancing act between a place that embraces and actively pursues technology, but also opens up debates about the inequalities with those technologies, so that we balance innovation with ethics at the same time. And again, I would really encourage you, if you want to read it, there's a link over there which you can use to read the whole vision. There are lots of other areas around digital in there as well. Also, before ChatGPT became big, we also commissioned a report So we hired our very first research officer for AI in libraries, Dr. Luba Pigova-Morgan, who we commissioned a report about what the future of AI would look like in libraries. And that report was then rewritten when ChatGPT came out and launched. And again, it's all available online. If you just search for that title, Looking Towards a Brighter Future, the Potentiality of AI and Digital in Library Spaces, you will find it. And that gives you a good overview of what the potential applications of AI in library spaces could be. But again, one of the key things that we are using AI as is repositioning of library. And this line where we say, we are a convener and an honest broker, that's a really important one because everyone in the institution trusts us to do this right. Okay. We also hosted our very first digital summit in June of this year, and it was themed AI and me, and it was fantastic. But the key thing I want to say is, while this was a national AI summit, the key thing was that the library sponsored it all. This was not the university, this was the library doing it, and that was fantastic to see. And again, that's about repositioning. And we've got all the top leaders of the university in these pictures. They're all engaging with this. We also went for trialing certain things. So we said to Microsoft, can we trial Microsoft 365 Copilot? But we did that in 3 departments, library, IT, and digital education service working together on let's trial it. I will give you the summary. I hope nobody from Microsoft is here, but Microsoft claims it enhances your productivity massively. It enhances your productivity a little bit. That's what I would say. But we only trialed it for 4 months. Now we are trialing it for another 12 months to see how effective this is. We are also the conveners of the institutional AI roadmap. And these are all the elements of the institutional AI roadmap that we'll be helping support and build. All the way from what would be the university's positioning on AI, to what the governance on AI would look like, to what the operations and finances would look like, to what kind of conversations do we want to open, what kind of digital skills do we want to develop, what infrastructures do we need to talk about. All of these components are really, really critical to develop a good AI mission, but they need to be worked on together. So, and that's the role of the library. We are bringing people from research communities, from teaching communities, from IT, from other places to say, let's work holistically on this. But AI is big and tricky, and when you look at it holistically, it feels very scary. So we really wanted to make it more practical and pragmatic. So now we started doing library plan for AI. And the library plan for AI is very, very basic, as you will see very quickly. The first thing is we wanted to develop some principles, because what's the first feeling you get if you say AI will increase productivity? Oh my God, I'll be out of a job. That's the first feeling most people get. So we really wanted to develop some principles, but then we have certain phases. So let's start with the principles. Firstly, this is all about experimentation, trial and error, and nothing more than that. It is about developing communities of practice, supportive culture, etc. Learning pathways. We have no idea what kind of learning pathways it will develop, but unless you experiment, you will not have those learning pathways. Support from developers and data experts. We don't expect our own staff to become data developers and data experts, so we will bring those people in so that adaptive teams growth strategy will work. We'll bring in external speakers, bring people in who can teach and make that learning very, very quickly. And that will hopefully help with the growth mindset as well. And last but not least, it needs to be a mutually supportive place. AI can be scary, so we need to support each other, and we'll appreciate if I'm going to give you a very quick but real example. In our vision, we have a line which says we will actively work to reduce the fear of failure. And one of the first comments I got was, I'm quite scared that we will not be able to achieve this. And I was like, that just demonstrates the point that everyone is so scared of failing that they don't even try something. So we really need to change that. Phase 1 is very simple. It's about to finish in next month. And basically what we are doing is we are developing the AI framework for the library. So what would we do? But we are gathering feedback from all of our staff, where AI will help them, what would they like to trial and test. And we will use all of that feedback to plan activities for 2025. 2025, January to May, we will be doing AI activities. We'll be bringing external people in. We'll be doing some internal sessions. So I've already done one session around what AI could look like for library staff. And we'll be doing some hackathons and AI initiatives around that. June to August, we will be doing a review and feedback loop on what we've learned from that first phase. And then we'll say, okay, and we'll openly share outcomes. This has worked, this hasn't worked. I'm sorry, this may caused you more grievance or not. And then using that, we'll plan activities for the remainder of 2025 and 2026. As I said, it was very, very simple, nothing complex about it. But one last thing I really wanted to say was, this is not something that we can achieve on our own. So we need to develop more and more partnerships. And these are some of the partnerships that we already have around some of these topics. So Northwestern University, we've developed a partnership with them around AI and other activities. We already have a memorandum of understanding with Chinese University of Hong Kong, particularly around data and digital activities. We are currently working with the University of Chicago and Carnegie Mellon University on whether there might be a joint aim around AI. It may happen, it may not happen. We have a partnership with the University of Pretoria, particularly around knowledge equity in Africa, South Africa. So we're looking at what does the future of knowledge equity mean, particularly the global North and global South divides. And we also have a digital reunification partnership with Victoria University, which if you were in the panel yesterday, I was saying that we have a collection that's physically distributed between Canada and UK. We will not bring it physically together. So how do we bring it digitally together? So we've developed a partnership with them. Sorry for rushing this, but I was running short of time. Thank you very much, and hope this was helpful, and very happy to take questions.
Thank you, Mr. Masood. It's very interesting. Yeah, my question is about the digitalization. You said you reached just 4.5% of your whole collection. How do you foresee to speed up the process? What are the technologies that you are going to you're going to use, and what are the technologies you wish to have to do this?
That's a very good question. Firstly, I would love some money. That's the short answer, because it costs a lot, and good digitization costs a lot. And I was giving this example that if we digitize between now and 2030 up to 20% of our collections, it will cost us about £22 million. So it's expensive. So we will do more targeted digitization wherever we can. So we'll look at what's already been digitized, what's not been digitized, particularly areas where we can do more. So we'll pick that up. Secondly, we are looking at a different way of digitization. So again, there is a tendency in libraries that we like to be perfectionists, and we want the most beautiful metadata across every page of scan that we've seen. We'll just go with mobile phones now. And the idea would be scan the first page, generate some base level metadata automatically. At least that makes something discoverable. When that thing is requested by a researcher or a teacher, we will then actually do the full metadata cataloging around that time. But what's the point of having hundreds of thousands of things that nobody can discover? There's no point in that. And if we stop doing everything and try to do it properly, without acquiring anything new, it takes us 27 years. We cannot wait 27 years to do that. So we want that. And in an ideal world, we are working. So I'm working on a project with JSTOR at the moment, where if you have lots and lots of stuff digitized, you don't have to catalog it. You just throw it into one of the tools, and they will catalog it all for you automatically. So it's those kind of technologies I'm really looking forward to in the future. Any other questions or comments? Kara's got one.
Thank you, Masood. That was a really good talk. And sorry, my name is Kara Jones. I'm from the American University in Sharjah. The thing I liked about your talk was you talked about AI, but you talked about the library's role as a leader, and us as librarians as leading and being politically and strategically aware in our organizations. And as you were talking, I was listing some words that you mentioned, and I think it's just worth highlighting those. You mentioned being ethical, trusted, collaborative, principled, having partnerships, experimentation, and support and supportive. And I think that's great to hear in a library conference on a talk about the future of libraries. It's just wonderful to hear. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. That's such a beautiful reflection.
I'll ask next question. Thank you very much. It's actually very interesting to see how library needs, especially library leadership needs to change a little bit perspective. What's your role in the university? My question actually will be about leadership role on AI at the university, because you said library tries to position as one of the leaders. I find that there are some other departments that really would like to take leadership, like IT department or educational office, especially in teaching with AI. So how do you navigate this kind of political ambitions of other departments and try to do it collaboratively instead of having competing priorities?
Also a very good question. So the first thing I'll acknowledge in that is it depends on your organizational context, because every organization will be a bit different. But it goes back to the role of libraries as honest and open brokers. So what we are not saying is that we are the experts. We are acknowledging that IT is the experts in infrastructure development. We are saying we have a Leeds Institute of Data Analytics. They are the experts in doing very high sensitive confidential research on large scale data. We have a Lead Institute of Teaching Excellence, which is the teaching pedagogical elements around this. But what we do know is all of these things are happening in the institution. If you go and speak, and I will say this with a lot of respect to my very senior IT colleagues, they wouldn't even know what's happening in the research domain or what's happening in the teaching domain. They are focused on developing the core services at this time. So our broad knowledge of what's happening across the institution in these different domains, but also our trusted, honest approach around that allows us to bring these things together. So yes, there are always politics, but it's how you navigate them that becomes more interesting.
Thank you. My name is Ahmad Bashir. I'm from the American University in Baghdad. Well, thank you for the good presentation. Well, you talked about AI more than you talked about digitization, although digitization is the key word in the session's title. Do you think AI depend on digitization to be more successful and to work more, to be used more? I think digitization is still the cornerstone in this. If you are not improving in digitization, how can you access the knowledge using the AI?
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. My point is that the things we've already digitized, we are not doing enough with them. I think that was my main point. So when I said we've only digitized 4% or 4.5%, that's not good enough. We should digitize a lot more. We absolutely agree with you on that. But if I go back and look at what have we actually done with those 4.5% of collections that we've digitized, not a lot. So at the moment, one of our main projects that we're running in the university is called Digital Library Infrastructure Project, which will host all of those collections that we've already digitized in a way that new research and new teaching can happen with that. Then we will scale up our digitization. If you don't have the infrastructures at the moment that can help you achieve that, all you will be doing is collecting a lot of digital collections in the same way that you've been collecting physical collections, but not doing much with them. I'm wary of time, and I know other people might want to go to other sessions. Really sorry about doing this quickly. The timings all changed, but still thankful for you being here, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.